Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I'm going to check the Runcam 5 $99 HD camera. In this video I'm going to go over the camera features and specs, show you how to set it up and measure the latency of its FPV feed, and soon I'm going to release flight footage and of course side-by-side comparisons. In terms of packaging, the Runcam 5 comes well protected inside this white box. Inside you can find the camera, the user manual, two 25cm long Velcro straps for mounting the camera, and a USB to micro USB cable for charging its internal battery. Unlike its predecessors, the Runcam 3S and the Runcam 3, the Runcam 5 is available in black. It weighs 54.63 grams, so that's pretty light. And as you can see, it's the lightest camera out of these 5. The dimensions of the Runcam 5 are 38 by 38 by 36 millimeters. So unlike the Foxil Box 2 and the Runcam 3S, they are identical to the GoPro Session 5, which means that the Runcam 5 is going to fit in every compatible mount. On the right side of the camera, you can find a micro USB port for charging its internal 960 mAh lithium-ion battery. The battery itself should last for about an hour and a half when recording at 1080p 60 frames per second, and about an hour when recording at 4K 30 frames per second. You can see that the micro USB port is not covered, and you should note that this camera is not waterproof and it is actually not IPX rated. On the top side of the camera you can find the power/mode/recording button, and next to it an LED indicator. On the left side, protected by this cover, you can find a micro SD card slot which can support up to 128 micro SD cards. I tested it and I can confirm that it's working with this Samsung 128GB EVO Plus micro SD card. Next to the micro SD card slot, you can find over here a reset button that will enable you to format the micro SD card and also reset the camera to its default settings. This slidable door doesn't open easily, and it's going to make sure that the micro SD card is not going to be ejected in case of a crash. The back cover of the camera is secured using these star-shaped screws. Removing them will reveal the microphone over here, and I don't want to dig in too deeply because I don't want to destroy the camera since I still haven't tested it. On the front of the camera we can find of course the camera lens, and unfortunately, unlike the Runcam 3S, the GoPro Session 5 and the Foxil Box 2, you won't be able to easily replace it, and I suggest to use a screen protector. Configuring the camera can be done in two methods. First of all, you can use the camera config INI file, which is created after placing a micro SD card inside the camera for the first time. Opening it up will reveal this text file, which might look a little bit intimidating, but it's actually pretty easy to understand. I'm not going to go over all these settings because I'm going to show you all the settings in the second option, but for example you can see that now the camera is set to 2.7K at 50 frames per second, which is the default value. After you change a value, all you need to do is just to save the new settings. So now for example, let's set it to 1080p 60 frames per second. Then we need to save the file. And after placing back the micro SD card inside the camera is going to be set to these settings. The available values for the camera recording modes are 4K at 30 frames per second XV, which is Runcam's answer to the Super V mode, 4K at 30 frames per second, 2.7K at 50 frames per second, 1440p at 60 frames per second, 1080p at 120 frames per second, 1080p 60 frames per second using the XV mode, and 1080p 60 frames per second. The second method for configuring the Runcam 5 is through an app, but since the Runcam 5 doesn't have a built-in Wi-Fi module like the Runcam 3S and the Runcam 3, in order to configure it you will have to scan a barcode that is going to be generated by the app. The app that you're going to use is the same Runcam app, and now the Runcam 5 option has been added to the menu. So over here you can see the QR code configuration button, and after opening it up you can see the different options that you've seen before, but instead of typing the values manually, now you can select them through these boxes. So first of all you can select the video quality, which is going to affect the bitrate, loop recording, which is by default set to off, and if you are going to select any of these values, a new file is going to be generated every set of time. So for example, if you are going to set it to 5 minutes, the video is going to be splitted into 5 minutes chunks. Next, you can set auto record, and if you are going to set it to on, after turning on the camera is going to start recording. The resolution can be set to the values that I just showed you. Over here, you can set the distortion correction, so this is going to minimize the fisheye effect. The volume of the microphone can be set either to low, medium, or high. And next, under General, you can select whether you want to place the date stamp on the video. So you can select either to turn it off, just stamp the date, or stamp the time and date. You can also choose whether to place the Runcam logo on the recorded video, flip the screen, and also tweak the image settings. Over here, you can set the camera auto shutdown. So for example, after 5 minutes, the camera is going to be automatically turned off, of course, if it's not recording, and by default, this value is set to off. The power supply frequency is by default set to 50 Hz, and you should check the power supply frequency of your country in order to determine this value. Another option in this app is to format the microSD card, and in order to access this feature, you will need to press the 3 dots, then press Format Micro SD Card. So basically what you need to do is to turn on the camera. Then in order to switch the barcode mode, you will need to double press the button, and after that, the LED indicator is going to turn blue. Now the camera is in barcode scanning mode, and then you need to place the camera in front of your phone, or if you'd like, you can also print this barcode. And you can see that it doesn't happen instantaneously. So you have to play around, and now you heard this beep, and the camera micro SD card was formatted, and now you can see we are back to the recording mode. Now I set the camera back to barcode mode, and you can see that if you want to apply the settings, you will need to press the apply button. Underneath the barcode, you can see the settings that are going to be applied, and after scanning this QR code, these settings were applied. The settings are going to be saved to the camera INI config file, and in case you are going to place a new micro SD card inside the camera and an existing INI file is not going to be present, the camera is going to create a new INI configuration file using the previously configured settings, since it's going to load these settings to the camera built-in memory. In order to start the recording procedure, you will need to press the power button, and as you can see, now the LED is flashing slowly. Pressing it again will stop the recording and save the recorded file to the micro SD card, and if you'd like to shut down the camera, you will need to long press this button. Now, by the way, at the moment of shooting this video using the latest firmware, it's not possible to monitor the battery level. I hope that Runcam are going to come out with a good solution for this issue, because it's important to know the battery state. And my suggestion is that after 3 times pressing the power button, the LED is going to flash with indication of the battery level, and I'm going to pass this suggestion to Runcam, and hopefully they will consider it. The micro USB port on the right side is not just used for charging the camera, and also double acts as a video out. This cable is not included in the package, and you will need to get it separately in order to use this feature. It will also enable you to charge the camera while outputting the video out, and the input voltage can be between 5 to 15 volts. So now, after connecting the adapter to the monitor, let's turn on the camera. Now we can see the Runcam logo on the screen. Over here we can see the version that we're running, the remaining recording time on the micro SD card, the status of the battery, the camera mode, and the resolution. After starting the recording, we can also see an indication that the camera is now recording, and after stopping it, you can see that now it's not recording. The advantage of having a video out is that you can also place this camera, for example, on an RC plane, and then you can use it also for FPV. The quality of the FPV feed seems pretty good, and I'm also going to test it on one of my next side-by-side comparisons. Now let's test the latency. In order to measure the latency, I recorded the FPV screen at 240 frames per second and then turned off the light in my room. This is not a very accurate way, but it can still give us a pretty good estimation of the camera latency. So you can see, for example, that now after turning off the light in my room, we can still see the image on the screen because of the latency, and each frame represents about 4 milliseconds. The number of frames that it took for the screen to go completely dark is 16 frames, and I also tested it when the camera was recording, and the result is about the same. So 16 frames equals to about 64 milliseconds. So I wouldn't use this camera, of course, for racing, but for freestyle and, of course, on an RC plane, it should be more than enough. In order to update the Runcam 5, you will need to download a firmware update from Runcam's website. Then copy the BRN file to the root directory of your microSD card, put it back in the camera, and also make sure that the camera is fully charged in order to prevent it from accidentally shutting down in the middle of the upgrade process. Then turn on the camera. The LED is going to flash while the camera is upgrading its firmware, and it should take between 2 to 3 minutes for the process to be completed. After it's going to be updated, the camera is going to shut down itself, and the BRN file is going to be automatically deleted. So overall, the Runcam 5 looks like a very interesting product, and of course the most important thing is to see how it's going to perform, so stay tuned for the flight footage and the upcoming side-by-side comparisons. As always, I thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it and you found it useful. If you have any questions about the Runcam 5, feel free to ask them in the comment section down below. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you like this video, and consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the notifications bell if you're not already subscribed. See you in my next videos, and goodbye.